Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I never thought a single week could feel like a lifetime, yet somehow it did. My name is Ethan, and I thought I knew Sophie, the woman I've been with for nearly 5 years. We met in college, laughed at each other's terrible jokes, and promised that no argument, no disagreement would ever drive us apart. Or so I believed. It all began on a Tuesday morning, a morning that seemed ordinary at first. Sophie sat across from me at our tiny breakfast table, her hands wrapped around a mug of black coffee, and a faint smile flickered on her face, one that made me uneasy without me realizing why. "Ethan," she said softly, her eyes avoiding mine, "I've been thinking. I want to try something." I frowned. "Try something? What do you mean?" She hesitated, biting her lower lip, as if she were afraid the words might shatter something too fragile. "A week-long breakup," she said finally, almost whispering. "Just an experiment. I want to see how it feels. You don't have to take it seriously. It's just hypothetical." I blinked, certain I had misheard. Breakup? For a week?" "Yes," she said, finally meeting my eyes. "Think of it as a test. A pause. We're still committed, but for 1 week, we act like we're not together. No texting, no calling, no seeing each other. It's just an experiment to see if we're really compatible, to see if absence really makes a heart grow fonder." I laughed nervously, trying to mask the knot forming in my chest. "Sophie, that sounds insane. I mean, why would we need to do that?" She shrugged, but her eyes didn't waver. "Curiosity, I guess. You trust me, right?" I did. Or at least, I thought I did. And so, with a mixture of disbelief and trust, I agreed. "Fine," I said. "A week. But we have to be honest with each other after it's over. No surprises." And that was how it started. The first day of what I thought would be a strange, temporary experiment. The first 24 hours were tolerable. I busied myself with work, called a few friends, and told myself it was just an unusual test. Sophie didn't reach out, and I didn't either. But by the second day, I began to notice the subtle cracks in my routine, the way my mind kept wandering to her. Every song, every text notification, every familiar sound made my chest tighten. I missed her more than I expected. On day 3, I walked past our favorite coffee shop and nearly froze when I saw her sitting inside with Daniel, a co-worker I vaguely knew. They were laughing, leaning close, heads nearly touching. My stomach churned, but I told myself it was nothing, just a coincidence. It had to be. By day 4, the isolation felt unbearable. I tried reaching out to her, texting, even considering calling, but I remembered the rules. No contact. No exceptions. My phone stared back at me, mocking my restraint. I felt trapped inside a prison I hadn't built, and I couldn't even tell anyone why. That night, sleep didn't come. I stared at the ceiling, imagining Sophie's smile, the warmth of her hand in mine, and the quiet intimacy we had shared over the years. The house felt empty without her, though it was the same house we'd always lived in. The silence screamed, a reminder of the space she had created between us, voluntarily. By day 5, my frustration had turned into suspicion. I noticed subtle changes. Her social media was suddenly more active, with stories of outings I wasn't invited to. I tried to convince myself it was innocent, that it was part of the experiment, but deep down, a part of me feared the truth. Something was happening, something I hadn't anticipated. On day 6, Sophie finally broke the silence, not directly to me, but in a way that made my heart stop. A mutual friend casually mentioned she had spent the evening at Daniel's apartment, watching movies and laughing until late. My mind went blank. My hands shook. Was this part of her experiment? Or had the experiment already taken a turn I couldn't control? I confronted her that evening, but only indirectly. "Sophie," I said, voice tight, "I heard you were out last night." Her expression remained calm, almost teasing. "Yes," she said lightly. "Daniel and I watched a movie. It was just friends hanging out. Remember, experiment. We're not together this week." But something in her tone, in the way she avoided my eyes, told me the line between experiment and reality was already blurring. My heart pounded as if warning me of an approaching storm. The final day, the seventh day, arrived, and the tension had reached its peak. I felt as if I were walking on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether I would fall into clarity or chaos. My mind replayed every laugh, every glance, every moment with her and Daniel. My trust, once unshakable, had begun to crumble. Then came the evening, when Sophie texted me for the first time in the entire week. "Can we talk? Meet me at the park at 8 p.m. I swallowed hard, heart racing, palms sweaty. Something told me this conversation would not be simple, would not be ordinary, and would certainly not leave anything the same. As I approached the park, I saw her standing by the fountain, hair loose in the wind, her silhouette illuminated by the dim lamplight. She smiled faintly, but there was a strange hardness behind her eyes. I realized in that instant that the experiment had transformed into something far more dangerous, far more irreversible, and I had no idea if I was ready for what came next. I approached the fountain cautiously, every step heavier than the last. Sophie's face was calm, almost serene, but I could feel the tension in the air as if it had a weight of its own. The experiment was over, or so I thought, but something told me the real test had only just begun. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice carrying a note I didn't recognize. Not playful, not warm, something colder, more deliberate. "Thanks for coming." I swallowed and forced a calm tone. "Of course. We need to talk." She nodded, keeping her distance, and I could feel the invisible line she had drawn between us over the past week. "Look," she began, hesitating. "I know this week was supposed to be an experiment, but I think things changed." I frowned, my stomach twisting. "Changed? How?" Her eyes flicked away, almost as if she were weighing how much to reveal. "I didn't expect to feel this way," she admitted. "Being apart, it made me realize that I don't know if we're right for each other anymore. I thought I could handle it, just for a week, but I can't stop thinking about someone else." My chest tightened. I had anticipated confusion, maybe regret, but not this. Not a confession like this, like a dagger in slow motion. "You what?" I asked, trying to steady my voice, though the tremor in my hands betrayed me. "I didn't plan it," she continued, her voice dropping almost to a whisper. "It started as curiosity, an experiment, but I realized I have feelings for Daniel. More than I should. Maybe. I didn't want to hurt you, Ethan. That's why I said it's just for a week. But now it feels different." The words hit me harder than I ever imagined possible. I had felt sadness, suspicion, anger, and frustration over the week, but nothing could prepare me for the cold reality that Sophie, the woman I trusted, was slipping away while I had been bound by rules she imposed. I took a deep breath, trying to contain the storm inside me. My mind raced through every laugh, every shared memory, every subtle smile she had given him during this week. I realized that the experiment was never neutral. It was a trap that had turned her attention elsewhere, and I had walked right into it. "Why tell me now?" I asked quietly, my voice steadier than I felt. "Why not just leave it alone?" She flinched slightly, as if my calm hurt more than anger ever could. "Because I can't keep lying. I can't pretend this experiment didn't change things. I want to be honest, even if it destroys what we had." Honesty. That word felt like salt in an open wound. I stared at her, feeling the air thicken between us, realizing that there would be no easy reconciliation, no magical fix. The Sophie I thought I knew had shifted into someone I barely recognized, and that realization burned more than betrayal ever could. I stepped back, letting the weight of the silence settle around us. "You want an experiment," I said slowly. "You got one. But it wasn't a test for me. It was a test for us, and you failed." Her face fell, but there was a strange acceptance in her eyes. "Ethan," I held up a hand. "No, I need to be honest too. This week showed me something important. I've been holding on to us, hoping absence would make the heart grow fonder. But it didn't. It only made me see the truth. You've already chosen someone else, and I can't fight that." Sophie's lips quivered, but no words came. She had expected anger, maybe begging, but I offered neither. I felt a strange mix of liberation and heartbreak, like my chest was both heavy and lighter at the same time. "I think we're done," I said finally. "Not because I stopped loving you, but because you stopped loving me a long time ago. And I can't waste another week, another day, hoping you'll come back." Her eyes widened, a mix of shock and realization dawning. She tried to speak, but no words could undo the clarity I had reached. I turned and walked away, each step a deliberate choice, leaving behind not just Sophie, but the illusion I had built around our relationship. As I walked toward my car, I felt a strange sense of calm settle over me. The heartbreak was there, yes, sharp and unrelenting, but so was clarity. For the first time in days, I breathed without the weight of uncertainty pressing down on my chest. I reached the car, my hands trembling slightly as I slid the keys into the ignition. I started the engine and watched the faint lamplight flicker across the empty park. A part of me wanted to look back, to see if she was following or regretting, but I didn't. This was the moment I reclaimed my own life. Later, I learned that Sophie tried to contact Daniel, attempting to explain herself, but he was distant, uninterested, almost amused by the chaos she had created. The experiment had not only exposed her feelings, but revealed that her new attachment was fragile, superficial, a fleeting thrill compared to the foundation we had once shared. I drove home, the streets quiet, my mind replaying everything one last time. I realized something important. Love, no matter how deep, cannot survive manipulation, curiosity games, or divided hearts. Trust and honesty are not optional. They are the backbone of everything. And when they are broken, nothing else can hold the weight. By the end of that week, I had unpacked more than my emotional baggage. I had unpacked a new understanding of myself. I would grieve the love we lost, yes, but I would never again allow someone else's experiment to dictate my worth, my emotions, or my life. The week-long breakup had started as a harmless experiment, or so I was told, but in the end, it became a week of revelation, heartbreak, and ultimately empowerment. And as the sun rose the next morning, I knew I would never look back, only forward, to a life where my heart would not be a subject of someone else's curiosity again.